Before we get into this one, I need to mention something. One of my lovely subscribers, Ilman Raimi, provided me with a State of Decay challenge, and I did attempt it, but I failed miserably after no less than 15 attempts. And because it's State of Decay, that means rolling new survivors and trying again from scratch. The highest difficulty I've played on State of Decay is Dread, which I have to admit, I do find pretty hard. Yeah, I know, I'm trash. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it. Jumping from that straight to lethal was a dumb idea, especially since I was limiting myself as well. So I've decided to work my way up to it. Maybe one day I'll be able to walk the golden halls of those that exclusively play on lethal. Ilman Raimi, I failed to meet your challenge. So instead of that, I came up with a new one. Can I beat State of Decay 2 with a group of homeless people? Here are the rules. I'm not allowed to claim a base at any point during the playthrough. I am, however, allowed to recruit new survivors. And because I'm living life on the road, I'm allowed to use vehicles. Let's get started. Whilst rolling my survivors, I decided to go for 3 that had the incredible immune system trait, which gives me plus 100 infection resistance. I went with these traits because trying to get Blood Plague Survivor would take more time than I have left on this abysmal planet. When I start, I immediately check the community tab and find out that they are aptly named the Wanderers. I dress them all in ninja attire, then quit out and reload so my gazebo will spawn. I break open the rucksacks that are in the car, which was kind of pointless because all they did was give me parts which I can't use, then make my way to our cozy little camp. Because I don't have a base, I can't deposit any supplies or craft anything, which means I'm only going to be able to get the things I need from scavenging. Speaking of, I managed to get an AK-47 and some ammo from this bridge checkpoint, and 2 grenades, which will come in handy for some plague heart extermination. I get myself a car and drive me and Brady over to our camp to drop off my plundered prizes. Then we head over to the first plague heart and give it a reverse bypass. I loot some pretty useful items from the globular git. Then I made the decision to send Brady back to camp, because I'm going to need every single one of my survivors alive and fit just in case one of them dies. I make tracks over to the second plague heart, and I have to say that I was trying to speedrun as many of the plague hearts as I could at the start, because eventually I'm going to be dealing with a situation similar to that time KFC ran out of chicken.
I've had to go to Burger King.
My community is going to start rioting, and their stamina is going to start tanking from starvation, on top of them getting fatigued and becoming injured. Eventually, my stamina bar is going to turn into your dad's dick, too small to be of any use. So I need to take out as many plague hearts as I can before that happens. After blowing the plague heart to Timbuktu, I kill all the zombies at the local swine and bovine and set up an outpost there. It's not going to sort out my food problem, because I'm losing just over 3 food a day and the outpost only provides me with 1. But it does give me access to my supply locker and access to the roof. So if I get overwhelmed, at the very least I have a place to head to ease the tension a bit. I promote Wes to leader, which wasn't the brightest idea, but we'll go into that more later. I loot the nearby Bronto gas to get some Molotovs and gas cans, then head back to camp and switch to Paige, because she has a mission to find her aunt. I search her house, which was quite close to our camp luckily. Then whilst on my way back, a bloater blows up on me because I stupidly got myself cornered. So now Paige's stamina is ridiculously low. But despite this setback, I managed to damage his plague heart quite a bit before getting overwhelmed and chased away. So I head back to camp and swap to Wes, heal Paige's wounds, then after watching this horde shamble past me like a group of pensioners en route to jam up some queues in their local Tesco, I finish what Paige started and turn the plague heart into jam. Luckily it had a new gun and some pipe bombs in it. Because I was running low on ammo after filling the bastard thing with so much lead, you could probably use it as a radiation shelter. After this I drove over to the next heart, but like an absolute invalid I drove into a bloater, so now Wes was injured. Despite this, I managed to put the plague heart into cardiac arrest pretty quickly. Then I head back to our lovely little gazebo to drop off the diseased loot I grabbed from it. At this point a Clio drop appeared on the map, so I immediately went to loot it. It had a pretty decent assault rifle and some ammo in it. I drove over to the next plague heart. When I got there, I quickly realised that I could just stand on top of my truck and shoot it through the window. All the noise, however, attracted this feral. The poor twat was trying so hard to get me. Eventually, I had to put him out of his misery because I felt sorry for him. After looting the heart, I drove back to our tarp-roofed abode to drop it all off. After this, I decided to stop being an antisocial neighbour and paid a visit to the bone saws. I barely had a chance to make myself at home before they sent me off on a quest. They want me to fetch them a rucksack full of meds. To make matters worse, they made me go on my own. They could have at least given me a follower to sacrifice. Come on guys. Whilst on my way to get the meds, the dawn of the third day approached, and we ran out of food, causing all my survivors to instantly begin starving, lowering their stamina. Luckily, you can circumvent this by eating snacks. But this was the point that I realised that my life was about to get significantly harder to manage. After I finished my first shift as an Amazon delivery person, I used my Second Amendment rights on the next plague heart. Before I could loot it though, a feral jumped on my back and almost killed me. He most likely knows that I humiliated his brother and wants revenge. I managed to escape the house and shoot him from this water tower. After that, I decided to recruit Dante from the Bone Saws group to use as bait to prevent from further close calls. Because Wes was so injured, I swapped to Paige again, and we go and pick up her auntie's car, because this one is starting to look pretty mangled. After dropping off some loot at camp, me and Dante go on a nice relaxing road trip to the next plague heart. Using him as bait worked like a charm. I managed to pop the heart's clogs fairly quickly whilst the zombies were chomping on his flesh. We head back to my camp so I can swap to Wes. I heal his wounds, give him a little snack, then me and Dante head over to another plague heart to put an end to its disgusting existence. I shot the ugly arsehole through a window whilst Dante was getting mauled to death by the creepy cadavers. I didn't mourn him though, because he deserved it. After this I went back to the Bone Saws to get a replacement, then drove straight to another plague heart. I used my trusty P220 to turn it into Swiss cheese. Then after dropping off the loot at base camp, I find out that Brady has a quest to claim an outpost. After accepting it, I now have 2 walking zombie baits, and I plan on abusing the hell out of this. Unfortunately though, the car I'm using only has 2 seats, so once me and Rachel arrive at the plague site, we have to wait around for Brady to sprint here. When he finally arrives, me and Rachel quickly destroy the heart whilst he just stares at it. Useless wanker. If he keeps this behaviour up, he's going to find himself on the receiving end of a juggernaut's wrath. At the next plague heart, Rachel gets torn apart by the monster mosh pit. And after shotgunning it to death, I find out that Brady now has blood plague. Luckily, he didn't have to go through the slow painful death it provides, as he was dismembered by a feral shortly after. Then whilst driving over to the next heart, a massive horde comes out of nowhere. Then my car blows up whilst trying to lure them away from the area. I managed to sneak back over there and pop a cap in its ass, but now I have no car. So I had no choice but to slowly stealth walk all the way back to camp. Luckily I had a few snacks to stave off the starvation, because if I didn't, my stamina would have tanked. Once I sort out my inventory, I head back out into the Great American Shit Show to finish what I started. After dealing some damage to the last plague heart, a horde of red Zeds and a feral start causing me some hassle. I managed to squash the feral between the hood of my car and a wall, then used the slip and slide zombie conga technique to destroy the horde. After destroying the final heart, I loot it, then go back to camp. I previously mentioned that promoting Wes to leader was a bad idea. Well, that's because his leader type is Warlord. The Warlord and Builder types can't beat the game without building a facility in their base. So if I want to finish this, I need to recruit a trader or sheriff. And both my survivors are warlords, which means I have to either spend influence to recruit a new survivor or do a community's missions until they become allies, which allows me to recruit one for free. The problem with doing this is that you can't see what leader type they are until they join your community. So I'm going to have to keep recruiting people until I either get a trader or a sheriff. The first survivor I decided to take on was Nico from The Ones Who Made It, but it turns out he's a builder, so he's a no-go. After recruiting another warlord, third time's the charm, as I chose to recruit Nia, who turns out to be a sheriff. So after demoting Wes to laundry duty so he can use his aggressive warlord tactics on those stubborn stains, I need to raise Nia's standing from recruit to hero before I can promote her to leader. So I spend the next few hours doing missions, killing freaks, and getting rid of hordes. Eventually I raise her standing enough to promote her, then I start the legacy missions. The first part of the sheriff story isn't hard at all, because all I have to do is loot a house. But then I was confronted by a scene of absolute chaos when I have to game end some raiders. A horde and a feral show up amidst the gunfire and smoke. Then this large individual decides to waddle over and smack my truck around. Nico drops dead, and as I decide to stop and get my breath back, I watch one of the survivors of this community get pancaked by the jug. Then Paige decides to scarp her from the lack of supplies. Eventually, we manage to exterminate these pests, then I have to eliminate one of the other communities for betraying me. which was incredibly easy since they kindly decided to bottleneck themselves into a doorway. After that shit show, I protect the uninfected from an attack by more raiders. Then I stock up for the final assault on the bandit base. I knew this was going to be hard, but nothing would prepare me for what I was about to walk into. When I arrive on the scene, I managed to put 2 of them down with minimum resistance. Then when climbing the stairs, I was a few seconds away from having my clogs popped. Luckily, I managed to make a comeback and kill the bastard. Then the follower I recruited to help me died. And the true icing on this shit cake is that the last 3 enemies were camping up this ladder. I threw 2 grenades up there to see if I could kill them without going up there and getting turned into a modern art piece, which ended up attracting a group of rotting reprobates. So I had to lure them downstairs, then quietly sneak back up. Then came a frustrating game of peekaboo pea shooters, as I tried to shoot the ringleader from below. Because again, if I head up there, I would definitely get shot to bits before the climbing animation finishes. Every time I fired some shots though, the zombies shambled back up the stairs and swarmed the roof. Luckily, I managed to find a sweet spot behind this crate where they couldn't see me, and then stealth killed all of them. Eventually I managed to headshot the leader, then I decided to try and head up there and face the music. But to my surprise, when I do, I find them all lying on the floor, which confused me, because they were all moving around shortly before this. If anyone knows how this happened, please let me know, because I'm so confused. After putting them out of their misery, the community stands triumphant over the valley, but the victory was bittersweet, because the road we walked to get here was paved with the graves of our fallen comrades. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed our journey through the infected wastes of Trumbull Valley, consider leaving a like and subscribing. It helps out the channel loads if you do. Plus, you get to watch more content from yours truly. If there's a specific challenge you want to see, or you just want to say hi, drop a comment down below, and I'll see you next time.